Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Macola 10, a single solution to automate, manage, and grow your business. My name is Nick Mears, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Macola Software, an ECI software solutions company. We know your time is valuable, so we appreciate you sharing some of it with us today. Now, with that said, I'd like to introduce Steve Featherston, our other presenter in today's webinar. Steve Featherston, a senior business consultant of pre-sales, has been with Macola for 5 years. Prior to that, Steve managed the implementation of Macola for many of Macola's customers. Prior to this, for 16 years, Steve worked in 3 different companies, all using Macola. Before that, Steve owned his own business for 22 years in the consumer electronics industry. So welcome aboard, Steve. We appreciate you being on.
Hey, thank you, Nick.
Excellent. So with no further ado, let's get started. We'd like to answer 3 questions. Who uses Macola? How can Macola help you? And why is Macola different? So who uses Macola? The companies that use Macola are primarily in either manufacturing or distribution. So many of these companies could be just about anything, especially those that are in what we think of as discrete or process manufacturing. So they can be manufacturers in metal fab or injection molding. They could be manufacturers or distributors of household goods or food and beverage or industrial machinery. You get the idea. Now, basically, if you're in that space of creating or distributing, then you're probably a good candidate for us. And we have thousands of customers who've used Macola just to solve their needs. So size. From a size perspective, we typically target what we think of as a small and medium business space. But we're also great for larger companies too. So for us, that means anywhere from about 50 to 500, which would be a small or medium company. But we also have customers that are up to about 10,000 employees. Geographically speaking, it's safe to say that Macola has a global footprint. From the US and Canada to Latin America to Europe, Asia, and Africa, Macola is quickly growing. So Macola's been around for a while, over 40 years in fact. And since that time, over 8,000 customers have relied on Macola to run their businesses. Also, Macola 10 is what we like to call all-inclusive and scalable, meaning that you get more for your functionality for a better ROI, and because it's scalable, it's something you can grow into. We'll talk more about the scalability of Macola 10 a little bit later on. Now we think about who relies on Macola, and well, all kinds of companies do. We have a few here that you might recognize. At the same time, these customers are not necessarily representative of all of our customers, because a lot of our customers are the ones that you probably wouldn't recognize. They're companies that are behind the scenes or companies that feed into the supply chain. So maybe you've heard of a Simple Green or White Castle, but you probably haven't heard of the other 99% of our customers who make something or a part of the supply chain. So who could benefit from Macola? Well, for starters, anyone who's experiencing any of these challenges. First, any organization that has siloed information. It's inaccessible data that lives solely in a single department. Second, it's information everywhere. Who knows where you find the answers to your questions? Third, you're seeing lost tasks that are slipping between the cracks because at first they seem insignificant, but it's amazing the amount of chaos one missed task can have on an entire process. The fourth is unknown responsibilities, where no one knows who's responsible for what. So if you're experiencing any of these challenges, then you could benefit from Macola 10. And speaking of challenges, I'd like to conduct a quick poll here. Here's the question. What do you see as the greatest challenge facing your business? Is it collaborating cross-business functions, meeting productivity or revenue goals, making processes more efficient, centralizing data collection, reporting with real-time data. Okay, so it looks like, Steve, we do have a clear leader, making processes more efficient. Seconds, meeting productivity, revenue goals, and then tied, collaborating across business functions and centralizing data collection. Steve, what are your thoughts on the results here?
Well, that's pretty interesting. I took a stab at it myself, and I was going with 5 stars for making processes more efficient, but right behind that I had collaborating across business functions. That didn't rate nearly as high as I expected. Would have come in as tied for 3rd place, but making processes more efficient, helpful for everybody.
Yeah, it looks like you're right on that, and it seems like much of our audience realizes that that's a main benefit for them as well. Well, thanks everyone for participating, and we might do another one of these here in a bit as well. So let's get back to this here. How can Macola help you? So if your company is experiencing any of those issues in that last slide, then you're probably really going to be interested in this slide, because these are the 6 main benefits that Macola can bring to your organization. First of all, improved visibility and control of enterprise processes, reduced costs, increased revenue, reduced errors and improved accuracy, spotting bottlenecks and redundancies, increasing the efficiencies, reduced manual effort, increasing productivity, paperwork, reducing paperwork in there as well, and then increasing customer and employee satisfaction. These are just a few of the benefits that Macola 10 could bring to your organization. So let's get a little more specific. In your business, each business function, each role has different responsibilities, and each with different needs. So Macola addresses these different roles and responsibilities. Here's just a few of the different roles that Macola can help with. You know, for starters, the president may be looking to increase collaboration across business functions and to better manage the supply chain. The director of operations may be looking to optimize the shop floor, spot bottlenecks and redundancies. We can help with these. So why is Macola different? We recently won an award from Frost & Sullivan for product leadership in ERP. When describing Macola, Frost & Sullivan mentioned things like complete functionality, highly scalable, personalized workspaces, role-specific views. They also said it's integrated and scalable. But we're proud of this recognition from Frost & Sullivan. We thought we'd pass it along to you as well. So what makes Macola different? Well, we'd like to talk about these, from all-inclusive to flexible purchase options. So all-inclusive. Macola offers functional areas such as manufacturing and project management, distribution, quality management, accounting and finance, HR, and CRM. I really like this quote from the general manager of Solaire Medical. When comparing Macola's all-inclusive full functionality as opposed to other ERP providers who charge by the module, he said Macola was an inclusive solution. It just had a lot more functionality, whereas some of the other solutions you could add onto them and get all of the functionality of Macola, but they were more expensive. So along these lines, you can mix and match what you need from Macola 10. You may want all of them, or you may only need a few. But either way, you can start with the ones you're ready for now and grow into the rest later at no additional cost. That's the important part. Macola 10 is ready to help you grow. And from manufacturing to customer relationship management and everything in between, these are just a few of the features and functionalities that can help you. Steve, there's quite a depth and breadth of feature functionality here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's a lot of very useful tools inside of these modules. Companies take advantage of select ones or some of them, and very few take all of them. But I have seen it happen where you get a company that utilizes all the different features.
Yeah, and I think that's the key is you take what you need to grow to the next step here. So let's move on here to our next poll. And here the question is, what core function of ERP does or could benefit your organization the most? Is it project management, manufacturing? Is it distribution, accounting and finance, CRM?
Hey, bingo, manufacturing.
Is that what you picked, Steve? Or what you thought would win?
I did pick manufacturing, but I'm not going to talk about my second pick. Apparently nobody liked that.
Yes, manufacturing here. Again, you are on the you have the pulse of our audience for today. You're definitely on that, and you have to figure it out. So that's good.
I would have thought that real-time data came in a little higher, but it didn't.
Well, sometimes we see that, but in today's group, manufacturing, it's heavy on manufacturing, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for participating here, and thank you for your vote. So moving on, what makes Macola different? Integration between business functions. This includes integration between sales, support, purchasing, production, shipping, finance, the C-suite. Macola helps you to break down the silos within your organization. Next is configuration instead of customization. So Macola is cost-effective with out-of-the-box configurability without the need for costly customizations. And a lot of what Steve is going to show is things that can be easily configured without customizing or changing the code. Automated workflows that increase efficiencies. This reduces manual effort and paperwork while improving visibility and control of enterprise processes. Now about automated workflows. Oftentimes,
I do like this slide.
it's a powerful slide. So oftentimes these companies have individual processes that aren't really processes at all, but they're a series of disjointed and disparate actions. They aren't connected, and because of this, they certainly cause pain points, such as delays due to late paper filings, a mailbox that isn't being checked, or time-consuming manual data entry, or siloed data as well. So what we do first is organize and put these into a process flow. And then once you organize these previously disjointed tasks, you can actually, with Macola, start replacing entire tasks. Some of these workflows can even reduce or even eliminate manual tasks. And this is just one example. So you can see how this could be a very powerful tool. You can configure Macola to meet the needs of your specific workflows and the needs of your organization. And this is the strength in Macola's automated workflows. Here's a quote from the director of IT at GL Mazzetta regarding automated workflows. He says, in one department, we drop 4 hours every day on one task, and that's really just by using workflows and document management. So what if you could eliminate 4 hours in every department every single day? Think about that. And thanks, GL Mazzetta, for sharing this with us. So what else makes Macola different? Well, Macola is personalizable. It allows you to create personalized and configurable workspaces, providing views into real-time data. That's what Steve was talking about earlier, the real-time data that matters the most to you or to those in your organization. Along these lines, Macola offers 42 out-of-the-box role-based workspaces. They provide key metrics, KPIs, and the ability to perform transactions. All in a role-specific individual level. And if one of those 42 workspaces doesn't work for you, you can mix and match and even do this even without the knowledge of coding. Anytime, any device, from the desktop to the laptop and to tablets on the shop floor. Increase the speed of doing business with anytime, anywhere access. We like to say, take your data where you work. And last of all is flexible purchase options, from perpetual to subscription and enterprise license agreement. We want to align with what might work best for you. So here's one more example of how one of our customers was able to use Macola to eliminate a bottleneck that they were experiencing. This company is in the metal fab industry. They manufacture conveyor belts. Now she says that it used to take us between 3 to 5 days to quote one of our larger jobs, and now we're down to half a day. So they found the bottleneck, and with Macola significantly reduced the amount of time it took to quote the orders. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we were happy to share this with you. So what I'm going to do here is pass it over to Steve for the next part. So Steve, if you may, take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nick. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to do kind of a walkthrough of the quote-to-cash process in the latest version of Macola 10, which is 10.6.1. We have 10.7 coming out in a month. But we're going to be using a role-based interface to assume the roles of the individuals that are involved and highlight some of the automated features and mobile capabilities. So we're going to end up walking through opportunities to quotes to orders to purchasing all the way to receiving cash on this. And Nick's going to give us an automation here. He'll probably describe how this works. So we're going to begin with our sales rep up there in the upper left. He's Ron Cali. He's going to enter a sales opportunity. He may review that opportunity, work with that, enters a quote for the customer, maybe gets involved in reviewing that quote in the field with the customer, and he might promote that quote or get the order directly from the customer and convert that into a sales order. Our sales support person, Robin, here is probably going to end up reviewing that and looking at the details of it, maybe processing that order if it was done correctly, printing the pick ticket, and when she does that, that'll automatically notify everybody in the company that there's been a hot order or a rush order that goes out. She'll print the pick ticket and our purchase representative would be able to get a look at it. He may review MRP, he might create a purchase order from it, and he may receive the materials that are necessary for producing that product. Our production manager, he's got a look at this opportunity also. Maybe he's got an automated workflow. It's told him that. Production orders automatically created. He confirms the inventory, releases the order, and reports production and rolls it down to shipping. Our shipping clerk, Peter, he's going to review the shipping schedule, make sure it goes out on time, ships that order, and there in turn may be an automated notification to finance that that order needs to be billed, to which Joe would bill that order, invoice it, and hopefully receive cash on it sometime later. In the end, our CEO, Glenn Weissman, he can have a look at all the processes here, realize the orders are going out on time, and everybody's doing their job as efficiently as possible. That kind of completes the process. We're going to try to do that in Macola today.
Oh, well done, Steve. Now take a much-deserved breath of air here.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Appreciate that.
That's why I asked you to do it, because I don't think I could get through it.
It's all good fun.
Okay. So let's move on here to the next part, quote to cash. And what Steve's going to show us here is the opportunity in quote, and we'll be looking at a sales rep. So what is the sales rep looking for? First off, it's mobility. He has to have access to real-time data from anywhere. Second, he's looking for a CRM to provide accurate info on both his customers and his prospects. And finally, mobility. He needs to be able to conduct key business functions from both inside the office and on the road. Steve, you think you might be able to share what the sales rep's dashboard might look like?
Sure. Let's go take a look at Ron Cali's dashboard and have a look at what exactly he's looking at. So in my scenario here, he's at his hotel room. He's got his laptop open. He's actually looking in Macola 10 right at the moment. And he's going to go and take a look at what his calendar is for the next couple of days. So we're going to go to my planning calendar here, and we'll see the entire year of 2018 here with months on the left and days across the bottom. And for today being the 25th of April, and hover over this appointment, he's got a sales call apparently with Dove Equipment. Now I can click and drill into that and kind of review the details, but basically I'm going to go meet with their buyer over there. I'm going to meet with Javier, and we're going to go and discuss the opportunities that he has for a particular air compressor that we're working with. So if I open this up, we'll get a look at what Javier is approaching. He's looking at buying several of these air compressors, and we're going to go and visit with him for that particular task. Now, I've got this tied to a sales opportunity, and that's opportunity number 123. You see that linked here, and finance likes to track all of the sales and purchases related to compressors, so we also have this tied to a project which is collecting all of the expenses and the revenues for this. So I need to meet with Javier today, and we're going to review the opportunity that's there. So let me click into that sales opportunity and we'll kind of get a look for it. Now, he had originally talked about buying one of these compressors. We can see the item number listed here in the quantity. And that's about a $30,000 opportunity with a 90% chance of closure, so we're looking at possibly $27,000. This is the sales opportunity card, and inside of here we can have documents that are related to this particular opportunity. So it might be a quote I've sent in, might be a fact sheet about the product, and we can have workflow that's related, so I can go in and see that we do in fact have an appointment today to meet with Javier about this particular opportunity, and I can kind of review what's necessary for this. Now, this is tied to projects. As I mentioned, we have the visibility of that project called compressor sales that finance wants us to track. So the opportunity card tracks a variety of different things with this, and it's also tied to a sales cycle. So we're able to see the 5-stage sales cycle here, and that's basically illustrated in workflow that we're in contract negotiations with them. If I open up stage 4 of that, you'll see stage 4, we're in contract negotiations, and the opportunity is set that we need to call them today and maybe close this sale. Now, that whole process flow started off with what might have been a qualification phase, a needs analysis, a demonstration, and we're in contract negotiation and hopefully going to the close of sale. So that is basically what I'm going to do today, is to go hop over and see Javier and take a look at what the opportunity looks like. So if I can get this to display nicely on my screen, I'm going to see if I can bring up a mobile device. So we'll assume that we're basically coming to Javier's office. We're going to go take a look at what this looks like. Bring up my iPad and turn it sideways here. There we go. So I basically can see the same thing on my iPad here as I was looking at my hotel on my laptop. And I've got that opportunity that I want to work with him, and he also wants a quote. So we'll go over to the new quoting screens that we have from Macola 10. I'll just kind of turn this and it'll resize itself for the appropriate device that I'm using. And we're going to put a quote in for Dove Equipment Corporation. Now, I can go and take a look at details. I can see their credit limits coming up from here in the upper left. And if I want to add items to this, I'll scroll down to the Add Items function, and we'll add some items to this particular quote. So this will be an SLE series of air compressors, and I should see that come up. We'll say the 30 horsepower is the one that he's talking about. Now, in conversation with him, we originally talked about one of these, but I think he's going to end up buying 2 from us instead. So we'll just go into the item here and delete that out and put in a quantity of 2. That point, I'm going to add this to the order. I know I don't have any of these in stock, so this is going to be a build that we're going to have to make for this particular item. So we see it listed down here at the bottom. If we go up to the top and submit this, we should be able to get a quote number coming back for us on this. And it's quote number 344. Now I could have the automation system print this quote and send it to him, or I can just show him the quote, and if he's willing to go for it, we can convert this quote directly into an order. So I'm going to go and convert quote number 344 into a sales order because he's given me the PO for this. We'll search for that quote. Should bring it up down there at the bottom. I'll open that quote, review the details of it with him, and if he's acceptable that we're going to do 2 of these instead of 1, I'll just presently just ask this to convert into a sales order, and we'll do that right now. It should come back with a sales order number for me. It should be sales order number 1365. I'm kind of done with the mobile process here with my iPad with him, so I'm going to step out of this, go back to my regular Macola screen, and we'll see if I can't get this to go out and back to Macola. Shut off that. Hardest part about working with these things is being able to get them to display on a WebEx meeting like this. So I'm done with Javier. The order got placed, and I know that my team in the office will start taking care of it from there. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go and take a look at what other things I have to do today. So I'm in my car, and I'm going to pull over to the side of the road, and maybe I'll open up my iPhone and take a look at any particular things that I have going on. So I'm going to display this, and I'm going to use the Macola 10 application. I'm going to say, is there any customers around by me that I can go and meet up with while I'm here in the area where Dove equipment is? So I can hit my proximity indicator. That'll use GPS and locate me in somewhere in North Jersey. That's me with the blue flashing circle that you see there. And there's also two customers around me. One's Marlowe Manufacturing. Another one is John's Hot Dog Shop. So I know I haven't seen Marlowe in a while. I might click on their account, be able to drill into that particular account. It'll give me their address, some mapping information, so I can use one of the mapping tools to actually take me there. But I can reach into the contacts of that account and maybe meet up with Tony, get his contact information so I can see if he's available. Now I can email him or call him directly from here. So I do have the ability to be able to use mobile functionality within the application in my cell phone. And I can even do things like check my workflow to see what's going on. So I know I had a meeting with Javier today. You see that sitting up top for a sales call. We've also had a damaged in shipment complaint, which is the next one down. And I might take a look at that and see what was going on with that. It looks like we're going to be sending him a new one, a replacement for whatever has been damaged when we sent it out to them. So these devices are out there on the App Store, and there's samples that you can test with, but that is using the mobile tools inside of Macola 10 to be able to access what we need to. I'll bounce back over to this. So basically, Ron, our sales rep, has kind of completed his task, and we're going to turn it back over to Nick, and we'll talk a little bit about what the next step is where we're going to have Robin Smith, our customer service rep, work with this order.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. Sales support. This is Robin. What is she looking for? First she needs to be able to be automatically notified of key sales activities, regardless of the location of the sales rep. Second, she'll need to be able to process and review the sales order and print the pick ticket. She'll also need to have key tasks automated as well. Now, these could be order acknowledgments, internal notifications for rush orders, things like that. Steve, you think you can show us the sales support's workspace here?
Sure, let's take a look at her workspace. Okay, so we're logged in now as Robin Smith, another persona we have here, and she has basically a workspace that I consider her like a power user. She's got about 24 hotkeys sitting here that she can very quickly enter an order or enter a quote, and these workspaces are configurable, so if she wants her favorites up top, she can move her favorites to the top. If she wants quoting to be over here, she can kind of drag things around. So she's in charge of creating her own workspace. But I do notice that in her workflow, and workflow is a lot like Outlook, and the tasks that are in here are a lot like emails, she got a heads-up notification that there was a rush order that needs to be processed. If I drill into this, I can see this rush order is for Dove Equipment Corporation, and if I want to take a look at the order, I can in turn open the order directly from here and see that we're ordering 2 of these air compressors now instead of 1. And I might go from here and say that we'll end up printing an order acknowledgement to the customer or having automation do that. I might fire off the pick ticket so that product could be picked. But in my scenario here, I have no parts for this at the moment, and I don't have any built. So we're going to have to kind of address the supply chain side of this first. But that is the order, and Robin's got notification of this. So as she reviews that order and says that it's correct, and then she'll end up printing the pick ticket, even though the warehouse won't have the material. But she'll print it, and that'll give them a heads up that that needs to be done. So with that said, we're going to step out of this as Robin. We're going to end up moving over towards our Jack Davis in purchasing and get those materials in that we need to be able to build this air compressors with. Back to you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So let's move on to the purchasing manager here. Now, the purchasing manager needs to have visibility into the supply chain, all of it, and in real time. He's also responsible for MRP, inventory management, and he needs his ERP to ensure timeliness and accuracy. He's also responsible for the printing purchase orders and receiving materials. Steve, I think we have something we can show for the purchasing manager here.
Sure. Let's log in as our purchase manager. We're logging in as Jack Davis here, and his workspace, a little bit like Robin's, except for he's got some metrics on here as far as POs he's received recently and POs that are getting late. We notice he's got that same rush order alert that Robin had gotten about the order, and we can drill into it and see what it's all about, but he knows that at night MRP runs. Now, MRP is an application that comes with Macola, and it kind of evaluates what your demands are. If we put a sales order in for air compressors, it's looking to see if we have materials for it, if we have production orders for it. It's going to make recommendations to your production team and your purchasing team to be able to fill those orders. So I could run an MRP by date report, and looking at this for the first time might be a little bit confusing, but maybe when I take a look at it and explain it, it's a little bit easier to understand. So this is a MRP by date report, and I filtered it based on production and inventory control code number TS, which is for those series of air compressors. If I go to the last page on this, I can see we've got a customer order that went in the system for a certain quantity of these, and it's in turn released a production order for that quantity, and that production order is 573. And as we go through this, we can take a look at all the materials that are necessary for it. So we have a gross requirement of 1 and a gross requirement of 6. And I'm hesitating for a moment because that quantity didn't look right to me. My MRP apparently didn't run overnight. I'm only seeing a gross requirement of 1 for this. So this must be left over from a prior order. So Jack, in his infinite wisdom, is going to immediately regenerate MRP right in front of us, which normally happens at night, so that we can see the accurate numbers that we expect from the increased quantities of air compressors. So this is what it's doing now, is it's going and looking at inventory, looking at the demand from sales orders, looking at your open POs, and then going to make recommendations again about what should be done to get the materials in. And we'll run that MRP by date report one more time, and hopefully I'm getting some better results here. So it must have not picked up our order from last night. Go and take a look. Last page, here we are. It's customer order number 1365 for 2 pieces that's driving a production order number 574. And now we're going to need 12 of these instead of 6 of that particular 5 horsepower pump. And if I go to some of the other parts, we need 2 assembly kits. We have none. So it's going to tell me all of this. Now, as I said, this report's a little bit confusing to look at unless you're familiar with MRP and the demand functions of it, but it's looking at a lot of different things, including safety stock and reorder levels and things like that. If Jack wanted to be streamlined with this, he could maybe do something fairly simple, which is just ask the system to show me what POs it would create for him to fill that order. So I'm going to ask it to do that right now, is have MRP generate purchase orders related to the TS series of air compressors. And there are the 3 items that we're going to be short. We're going to be short 12 pieces of this first one, 12 of the second, and then 2 of the assembly kit. And I'm going to ask it to create purchase orders automatically for this. So it's going to put a checkbox next to all those items. As I step out, it's going to ask me if I want to be sure that I'm going to do this. So I'll allow it to create POs. And these purchase orders are going to be unreleased purchase orders. I still have manual intervention to it. So if I go into my purchase order module and I open up what would be outstanding POs, it's probably the highest number of PO I have in the system, is PO number 692. And you see there it is an unreleased status. I can drill into that purchase order and release that purchase order so that we can get that material coming in. We'll set this to released, save that change, and as I step out, it'll want to print that PO, and that is the final step that we need before we can actually receive product. So we'll allow it to print that, throw the company name and address in it. Now, these things may be automated where you're having it sent automatically to the vendor, but these are all the materials that I need to be able to fill that order for Dove Equipment Corporation. They step out, it'll ask me, did they print correctly? It's my last chance to modify this order or make any corrections, and it did print right, so I'm good with that. I'm going to end up receiving those components. So I'll open up the receiving module here. and we'll receive PO number 692. And I'm going to do this in kind of a streamline receiving to make time savings for myself. I'm going to receive these all as ordered using this button here. So I can count. We got 12 of one item, 12 of another, and 2 of the other. So that's 26 items we're going to be receiving. So I'll receive them all as ordered. And it goes through the process of today's receipt date, any packing slip or freight bill information we could type in at this point, hit save on this, and we'll see it step rather quickly through all of those receivers, and that kind of completes the task that Jack had to be able to get that product in the door. So at this point, we're going to end up turning it over to our production department and see how Bruce Huntington works with that. So Nick, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Let's move from the purchasing and head over to the production manager. So our production manager needs automatic notifications, ones that are generated by his ERP. This helps him to create a production order. He's also responsible for optimizing the shop floor, product routing, master scheduling, and the bill of materials. Steve, I know we have a workspace for the production manager. Mind sharing that with us?
Sure, let's go take a look at Bruce's workspace. So here we are, we're logged in as Bruce Huntington, and again that same notifications hit everybody in the company that we've got an order that has just come in for Dove Equipment Corporation for these air compressors. So Bruce is going to work with that. He knows that that particular item is set up so that every time a sales order gets put in, a production order would automatically be created for it. So he's going to go and take a look at his production schedule and see that he has an unreleased order sitting here for that SLE series of air compressors. So he's going to end up opening that production order up and releasing that order to the floor, but he's going to review the bill of material first. So we might take a look at the captured bill. Now, if he was short on one part or wanted to substitute it, or the customer had a change, he could add or delete items off of here and make this particular build unique to itself. But in taking a look at the production order itself, notice it's tied to customer 2033. It's tied to sales order number 1365 and specifically line 1 on that sales order. So it has a direct connection between the manufacturing order and the sales order itself. We're going to release this order and allow it to print the production order, which is the materials that need to be pulled, which we just received in. And it'll produce a pick sheet for this that we could have detailed work instructions on, and it may tell them exactly what parts they need to pick and where they need to pick it from. But then it has completed the release of the production order to the floor, and at this point we may end up reporting production on this order. So I'll go in and report production on order 574, which should say it's released. I'm just going to refresh my screen there and say that it has been printed and released, so we're in good shape on that. Report production on that particular order, and I'm going to say that that is what's order number 574, and I'm going to say the order is complete. But before I do that, I'm going to add some labor on the fly to this. Now I could have this built into the product, or I could have it built into as the bill of material is put together, but in this instance I'd like to be able to add it kind of on the fly. So we're going to go into adding labor. The particular type of labor we're adding is assembly and overhead, and we might say that it took somebody 50 minutes to be able to put that item together, and we've just kind of added a labor to assemble those compressors. Step out of it, say the order is complete. Now this item is set up to be lotted, so it's going to come out with a unique lot number as it goes into inventory. So as I hit save, it's going to pull the piece parts out of inventory and create a finished good with a unique lot number for it. That's kind of what we're seeing here, is it's throwing a default prefix to the lot number, and then the trailing part, or the ending piece of it, is 345 is the unique lot number for these two items. We'll say OK to that, and that has completed that function. And Bruce is pretty much done with his tasks here. We're going to end up moving over to Peter Bailey in shipping, as Bruce is rolling this down to the shipping department as we're speaking. So Nick, back to you.
Thanks, Steve. So heading over to the shipping clerk here, what will he need? He needs first an automated notification that will show up in his workflow. Again, this is especially important for those rush orders that require quick action. He's also responsible for reviewing the shipping lineup and he needs an ERP that can help him with the bill of lading, tracking of freight charges, things like the weight of product. Steve, let's take a look at the shipping clerk's workspace here.
Okay, so we're logged in as Peter Bailey, and his workspace is a little bit more unique. He's tracking the weather in addition to things he's got to do. I've put his shipping lineup kind of in front of us here, so we're able to see all of the things that needs to ship out. Now, I've got sample data here, so I've got things dated back to all the way back to 2014. So we're going to filter that in a moment, but if I come down to his workflow, we're able to see the notification of that rush order. So he knows that this thing's going to be coming through. Now I'm going to kind of track that that shipping lineup down to maybe just this week. Let's take a look at what needs to be done only for this week for his particular job. So starting on Monday and going until Friday, we'll kind of filter what would be this shipping lineup based upon the week he's working with. And as we do that, we can see that we have order 1365 for Dove Equipment Corporation, needs to go out UPS ground, and it is for the SLE series of air compressors, specifically 2. Now, when we put the sales order in, we ordered 2 and the quantity to ship was 0. That's because we had none in stock. But because we had a tied manufacturing order, when the manufacturing order was produced, it actually updated the linked sales order with the quantity to ship. So we're in good shape with that. It's actually done a step for me automatically. Now, in my setup of my demo system here, I use confirm ship, which is a feature you can turn on or off. I have to show it. It is, what it basically does is it takes the item out of inventory when the item is shipped, whereas normally you might have the items removed out of inventory when they're invoiced. Those are choices for the setup, but it's going to involve an extra step for us in this demonstration. So we're going to take order 1365 and confirm ship this order. It's going to bring up a screen that will allow us to confirm ship this, and we may have a choice between what we want to ship out. We want to ship everything and for today's date, and it's now verifying the lot number that we're grabbing for these particular items. So making sure we get the right items on the sales order that were built for it. And as we step out, it's going to ask us for the shipping charges. So we'll throw $10 worth of shipping on here, maybe a $10 miscellaneous fee to this. And we throw in different cost centers if we wanted to. Those are choices. And throw in a different cost unit. I mean, you have options as whether you want these available to the individual or not. Okay, save this, and we've now confirmed ship this. As he goes back to his report, he should see that this booked order, when his report refreshes, now turns to confirm ship, that the product has actually left. So these two pieces are no longer in inventory. They're not available for other people to take or to put on another sales order. And that product is left. And this process that he's done has also kicked off an automated workflow that's going to notify finance that this sales order needs to be billed out. So we're going to step out of our role here as our shipping person, and we're going to end up going in as somebody in finance. So Nick, back to you. We're going to go take a look at Joe.
So Joe's our accounting manager, and he'll need to be automatically notified of the shipment. He also needs his ERP to help him verify orders and shipments. These should show up in his workflow. And he needs to be able to create invoices, process, and apply cash receipts to invoices. Maybe he'll need to generate a report so that he can follow up on past due accounts. He needs an ERP with robust financial and accounting functionality because he needs to manage general ledger transactions, review accounts receivable, accounts payable, review payroll, bank transactions, things like that. I know we have an accounting workspace here. Mind sharing that with us, Steve?
Sure, absolutely. So right now we're logged in as Joe, and Joe's got some hotkeys on the top of his workspace here for things that he works with fairly often, being it standard cost or assets. He can run reports from this workspace as well. But if he scrolls down to his workflow, we see that he's got not only a notification for a rush order that's coming through, but he's also got an invoicing notification that an order has just shipped. That's order number 1365. So he's going to end up working with that order and shipping it out, completing the process. Now, it has already been confirmed shipped, so the next piece that Joe's responsible for is billing that. So we'll go into the billing function and work with order 1365. We should see that order here and be able to hit save on this. We're going to bill every item that's on the order for this particular billing run for today's date. And here we're starting to see the information that our shipping clerk has filled in. So we're seeing the freight charges, we're seeing miscellaneous charges, it's starting to calculate taxation, and for our lucky sales rep, he's also getting commission from the sale. We're seeing the detail of that. You're also seeing weight start to calculate, which is each air compressor was about 2,000 pounds, so by the fact we're shipping 2 of them, we have twice that. Hit save on that. He's selected that order for billing. We're going to end up printing the invoices for it, and I'll just allow it to print any invoice that's out there for orders ready to be billed. And we should see the one pop up here for order number 1365. Notice we have the lot number that's tied to it, so the customer's fully aware of what lot it was manufactured under. Good traceability with that. We're able to see the details, including our miscellaneous amounts and our freight and our taxation here. If this all looks correctly, then Joe can say it's done properly, or he can go in and modify if he needed to. But I'm going to step out of it, and it's going to confirm, did it print correctly? Are you happy with it? I'll say that I am. And that's kind of the next step to what would be posting of those invoices. So as he ends up posting these invoices to the general ledger, we'll end up seeing that order pop up in the posting process here as we roll through whatever needs to be posted. So here's order 1365 posting, and we return back to Joe's workspace. At this point, Joe's complete with his task, and I think we're going to end up moving over to the CEO, which is Glenn Weissman. So back to you, Nick.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. So let's move over to our leader here. The president here will need to be able to monitor company-wide KPIs in real time from anywhere, which is the key there. He also needs to ensure that there's collaboration across business functions, integrating all of the internal processes. Key to the president or the CEO are out-of-the-box reports for tracking budgets, which help him to better manage costs. Again, in real time and from anywhere. Those are the 2 keys for our CEO. Steve might be able to share his workspace with us.
Sure, absolutely. We're now looking at Glenn's workspace, and he's got a view of things that are important to him on here. And we've just dropped in some what I call web parts. We've dropped in an executive scorecard. We've a bar graph of sales year over year. We've got his workflow down at the bottom where he can see that a rush order was entered for Dove equipment. And he's aware that his month-to-date sales, his year-to-date sales have all just changed by what's been invoiced today. And if I wanted to look a little bit deeper into some of these numbers, I could, because these workspaces become actionable. So if I scroll over with my white arrow cursor here to something interesting like this $53 million of projected order revenue, it turns into a hand and a pointer. That means I can drill into it and I get to the details of some of this. So if I wanted to open up maybe a sales dashboard from here, I can open up a sales dashboard that'll show me more detail of that $53 million. So here we're seeing the $53 million up top, and I can drill down to the level of the actual detail of the order. I kind of see how we're doing this April. If I hover over the bar chart as compared to last April, we're apparently having a tremendously good April. Spring has been springing all around us. We also have a view of the abilities of my sales reps, who's been doing the most as far as sales year to date. I think probably more importantly is the top 10 items and the top 10 customers that we have. Now, we've been selling a lot of these air compressors, 915,000 of them, $915,000 of them year to date, and most of them probably went to Dove Equipment Corporation. They are our highest rated customer here as far as revenue is concerned. Now, if I wanted to, I could drill into them, and maybe I could Google that account to see, what they actually do with all of these air compressors, or I could run a snapshot to see how they do with Cambridge compressors. So I'll run a customer snapshot on them, and it'll give me a little bit deeper view of Dove Equipment Corporation. Now, I can see their sales last year was $1.4 million. I can see their sales year to date is $967,000. probably a pretty good customer. They have $510,000 in outstanding AR, which is in these 30 to 90-day buckets, and I might concern myself with that, but if I look over at some of the other metrics, I can see their average days to pay are 22 days. So I certainly wouldn't want to disrupt my relationship with that account. I'm also able to see other orders that they have in the system. If I wanted to drill into them and look at those orders and view those orders, I could from here. But the order that we're concerned about has gone out, and it's part of the sales that have hit these numbers here today, and I'm pretty happy with my team. They've got everything out on time and as efficiently as possible. So Glenn's happy. Business is good. Nick, back to you.
No, it's a good sign. A happy Glenn, a happy president, a happy company, right? So, no, thank you for walking us through that. Let me change it back over to my screen here. And hopefully that was insightful and captured a little bit of what you were hoping to gain from this webinar here, everyone. Now, if I may, just do a brief recap. So how can Macola help you? Well, it's a single solution that has all-inclusive value. Macola offers anywhere web and mobile access. We found that was very important for the president there, or for anyone who's walking around the shop floor. Configuration instead of customization, that's the key there. Out-of-the-box configurability. Increased efficiencies with automated workflows, and hopefully we were able to explain just how powerful these automated workflows can be and how many efficiencies an organization can gain from implementing them. Flexible purchase options and personalizable views into the data that matters the most to you. Real-time data, we might say. So for additional information, please visit Macola.com. We have all kinds of neat things like ebooks, infographics, customer success stories. You can visit our YouTube channel, and then also look for a follow-up email. We should be probably tomorrow sending out an email with a link to view the on-demand version of this. And we have the post-demo survey, so we'd love to get your feedback on that as well. Now with that said, let's open this up to questions. Again, if you remember on your panel, you should be able to type in your questions, and if you haven't, go ahead and enter them in. Steve, let's see. Here's one. I have multiple business units. Can I manage them separately?
It's a good question. Kind of depends on, yes would be the answer, but I probably have two different directions you can go with that. If the multiple business units all report to the same book, in other words, they're all the same legal entity, so to speak, they have one chart of accounts, one financial, it can be handled in Macola using a segment of the general ledger called the cost unit, so you can separate them like that. If they are separate legal entities where they each have their own federal tax ID, they can be separate Macola databases all managed from one web interface. So people in shared services can get into company number one and do transactions and immediately just turn and go right into company two and enter journal entries into that one if they needed to. So it does make it kind of flexible to go back and forth between divisions if you have people in shared services that need to do that.
Okay, hopefully that answered that. Here's another one. MRP, built-in or an add-on?
Yeah, well, we had to run the MRP today, and that's a good question. We saw it running in front of us. That normally happens in the background, but that is one of the included modules. These pieces or elements to the software years ago used to be all sold separately, and now with Macola 10, you get all of the modules included in the application. So if you decide you want to bring MRP into your business a month from now, you can. If you want to bring standard cost in 2 months from now, you can try those applications and see how they can benefit you.
Okay. This one just came in. Do you support standard costing?
Yeah, I just touched on that a little bit. The standard cost module is tremendous inside of Macola. It gives you the ability to roll up your piece parts or your purchased parts, and then have those costs roll up into your bill of materials for your sub-assemblies and your finished goods. And you have the ability to kind of track that and do that in both sort of a test environment and a live environment. So you can run your standard costs in a sort of a trial basis and see if the numbers are what you expect, and then actually push that to production, so to speak.
Okay, that's good. And let us know if that didn't answer it for you. Sales commissions, multiple reps allowed?
Yes, natively Macola will take a sale and enable the sales order entry person to divide the reps up to 3 different reps. It covers most of the times that people need it, and from there the sales commission engine inside of Macola works fairly well with that.
Okay, here's another one just came in here. If you have just 30 employees but are growing, how do you price Macola?
Okay, well, Macola is priced on a per user basis, and it is named users in the system, so it works off of Windows authentication. So you determine which of your employees out of a company of 30, normally a certain percentage of them are application users and other ones may not be. So you would buy an individual license for each one of the people that need to actually do transactions inside of the system. Somebody who's not involved with computers in the organization would not necessarily have a license to it.
Okay, and then last question here, Steve, if we can do it before we wrap up. Steps for upgrading from Progression to Macola 10.
Okay, it's always been one of the things I've enjoyed as far as working with this software, as I've been a customer. Nick mentioned earlier, several of the businesses that I was in had multiple divisions, and they did have Progression, or they had other ERP softwares, and I brought them to Progression, then from Progression to the latest versions of Macola. The Macola team and also the partners that are out there have tools that enable them to be able to look at your Progression database and run a process on it, which will do one of 3 different types of upgrades to the software, where you can take a full transactional upgrade, or a 1-year open transactional upgrade, or just bringing in basic master data. So there are choices as to how much information you want to bring in, and it kind of depends on the quality of the data that you have in your system for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But there are tools to help you do that, and the migration is done by either one of our consultants or one of our partners' consulting teams.
Okay. Well, thank you, Steve, for your answers. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions. And I just want to thank you all again for attending today's webinar. You know, if you have any questions, we weren't able to get to everything, so please feel free to contact us at macolasoftware@ecisolutions.com, or you can leave a question in the post-webinar survey here. We'd greatly appreciate it if you gave us your feedback on how we did. And just a reminder, we'll be emailing tomorrow a link to view the on-demand version of today's webinar. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, have a great day.
Take care.